orchestrated wave of Islamophobia. Now, I don't think this is going in the direction that a neocon would like best. I think it's going to be more of a Brzezinski-type direction. I think Pakistan is likely to be the target, along with Afghanistan. You could say a lot of this orchestration is to push Obama to finally stop dithering and make the commitment to a massive escalation in Afghanistan. But nothing beyond that. No new wars. Those are the Iraq and Afghanistan are all the U.S. Can handle. Now, after that, well, ultimately there will be either a deflationary crash or a hyperinflationary event, and it seems to me that the hyperinflationary one is by far the most likely, given what most governments around the world are doing. So that is more or less what Obama said yesterday, right? He said that we could have a double-dip depression or double-dip recession in his terms. So they're basically warning you now that we're no longer in the springtime of green shoots, but now we're...
And by the way, over 2 years ago, you said that on air. You said we're going to have a big recession, going into depression. They're going to have a huge stimulus, say that everything's fine, and then as soon as they've spent that money, they're going to come back again. You were absolutely right, Webster.
Well, at this point, you have to look at what could the Federal Reserve do for them. The Federal Reserve can't go much below zero, although in theory they could. They could actually pay banks. They could have negative interest rates where they pay banks to take the money and speculate with it. The other thing is, in terms of getting another bailout, and I'm talking TARP, I'm talking the bailout to the Wall Street banks, I don't see how this could be done politically at this time, given the terrible experiences that we've had. So you see there's a lot of pressure on the Federal Reserve. There are two congressmen today demanding that Geithner should quit, two Republicans. A couple of days ago, Congressman DeFazio of Oregon demanded that Geithner should also quit. So I think the finance establishment, the Geithner-Bernanke group, and also with the campaign to audit them, which would be a useful step in itself. All of this is coming around, and the Fed is really under fire. You've also got some guy like Dodd, who's trying to win an election in Connecticut, thinks that he can look good by proposing to strip away a lot of the powers of the Fed. Now, this is a very rotten thing that Dodd is doing, but it shows you that the climate is anti-Wall Street, and I think that's fundamental. We've also got a lot of momentum around the Tobin tax, right? The 1% tax on Wall Street. And that's not the Tobin tax that the French government wants. That's the Tobin tax where the money goes to the U.S. Treasury and the U.S. states, so you can keep your schools and hospitals and police and firemen and basic services going.
Cap and trade. They're having Schwarzenegger announce in an extra legislative fashion. Here's Associated Press today that power-hungry TVs will be banned from store shelves in California. They're going to put taxes on other ones. They're going to tax medical care. They're going to tax anything with a carbon dioxide footprint. Other states are adopting it through federal regulations that are outside of law. They said health care wouldn't pass the House. It did. They're now saying cap and trade wouldn't pass the House. It did. They're still saying, Dianne Feinstein's still saying, in the next month, by mid-December, they're going to bring it out for a vote. But then Inhofe and others are declaring the death of it. I don't want to quote Mark Twain out of turn here, but rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. I mean, they're implementing it through the bureaucracy to begin with. Europe's implementing it. It's already happening. I mean, certainly the momentum is shifting. The fraud's coming out. The polls show that the people aren't bamboozled anymore. Al Gore's being exposed for, doctoring data and all this fraud. But still, it's a great danger. But you were saying when I first talked to you today, before you went live, that you do think it's in trouble. Now the Copenhagen managers are now saying at the UN headquarters, as you know, on Monday, that, okay, we may not get it passed this year, kind of like the Lisbon Treaty. Give us the bottom line, Webster, in about 4 minutes on cap and trade.
This is really also another imperative task for all of us, is to torpedo, to stop this Copenhagen conference. This is a monstrosity. There's nothing good about this. This is not like healthcare where there really is a problem and you really ought to do something, but the question is what? In the case of global warming, it's a complete fraud. The best thing is do absolutely nothing. Therefore, we want gridlock. Now, Obama is engaging in secret diplomacy. I have a report that that Obama had a secret meeting at the White House with a European diplomat who is prominent in the push for this global carbon dictatorship that they want to impose in Copenhagen. I think it's this guy Boer, B-O-E-R, is sort of he's the point manager of this entire thing. So secret meetings by Obama, and the idea is that the Democratic leaders who are pushing this, Pelosi and Reid, are despairing that they can get this through the Congress before Copenhagen. Their original scenario was the U.S. would pass a lunatic Malthusian cap-and-trade monstrosity. That would then be taken by Obama in person to Copenhagen, and he would beat the rest of the world over the head with this, saying, we in the U.S. were backward under Bush, but now we're more Malthusian than anybody else, and therefore you have to do the same thing. That is failing, and I think that's what the secret diplomacy with Obama was about. We also have Der Spiegel, right, the great German news magazine of the liberals, and they're saying Obama has fallen short. He's really betrayed his promise to go with a binding cap and trade for the world at Copenhagen. Now, part of this has to do with the fact the Chinese have said no, 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 right, Boucher, and the Indians have said no. There's even a fight between the Indian environmental minister is fighting with these quack scientists in the U.S. about whether the glaciers in the Himalayas are shrinking or not. And the Indian guy says there's not any shrinkage that we can see, but the U.S. quackademics are saying, oh, no, it's a serious shrinkage of the glaciers, and therefore that's global warming. I think if the Indian front and the Chinese front can hold, you've also had this thing where the Africans walked out of the Barcelona preparatory meeting saying you guys have forgotten about Africa. What they're really angling for, of course, is economic development aid, which they have to mask under the guise of carbon. So the big thing is that the U.S. should not pass any cap-and-trade carbon monstrosity before Copenhagen, and there's a pretty good chance that it will break up. They'll have some kind of an interim accord, and when they say wait till next year, well, next year it's going to look different. I think Obama will continue to subside, let us say, in U.S. public opinion, and Obama's ability to deliver that, I think, is shrinking. So, again,
well, you're right, Webster. That's what the
gridlock.
Yes, that's what the founders said. Gridlock is great, not a bad thing. Like the media says, they want to just ram their dictatorship of this oligarchy through. But looking at that, the White House admits, and the UN admits, and they all put out press releases saying, we're desperate. We've got to get all this done now because our little princeling is crashing and burning. People are finding out he's a fraud. You know, they say it in political speech. And I remember how astutely you pointed out that Obama had 100 to 200 days maximum before the fact that he was the maximum puppet and a betrayer of everything he said he was going to do was exposed. And so, but he seems to be crashing and burning even faster than you or I would have thought. Or is that incorrect?
No, I think it's correct. And I think, remember, as soon as he makes this Afghanistan decision, he's going to lose a whole area of support on his left flank.
Well, that's why he's been dithering and kind of, well, I'll announce 40,000 next week, but I won't really announce it.
Well, that's that December 12th Lafayette Park protest. Here's another one, though. This mammogram question. That group, this U.S. board that put out this mammogram monstrosity, that is a death board. That's a death panel. Because they say women should not have mammograms until they're 50 and then every other year. That has one name written all over it, Peter Orszag. Peter Orszag, the head of the Office of Management and Budget, has been waging a personal crusade against tests. He hates mammograms, MRIs, CAT scans, nuclear stress tests, PSA. You name the test, Orszag wants to take it away. This is very concrete. And there's a lot of women who are center left, you might say, in mentality, who now realize that what Obama is really into is a threat to their lives in the name of balancing the budget so we can have bigger and better bailouts for Wall Street through
Well, Webster, that's the issue, is that they set up these panels. It's in the bill. The author of the original bill, Daschle, wrote a book saying if you're 60, you don't need eye surgery. I mean, literally saying we're going to ration your care. And then on the other side of their mouth, they try to deny it And now they want 5 years in prison, $250,000 fine if you don't go get the insurance, they say, and they take money out of your check. I mean, this, and you get a national ID card that you have to show everywhere. So it begins that centralization. Where do you think the health care bill is going? Do you think we're going to be able to stop it?